Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this really handy and adorable potluck carrier. So let's get started with our cutting of the fabrics. I have both fabrics here folded into fourths, layered on top of each other. I really just use my lines on my cutting mat to make sure they're straight so that both folds are parallel on both fabrics. So I am safe to just place my Stripology Excel Ruler on top to make my cuts. So what I want to do is use a horizontal line on the bottom fold here, and I have it aligned, the next line aligned with the fold of the second fabric. So everything's looking nice and straight. I'm going to slide this down so that I can just get a trim here at the end, making sure that I catch all the raw edges off. We need to make a cut that is 24 inches. So I'm going to start by cleaning off my edge here through the zero. So we have that cleaned off. Now our ruler is 22 inches wide because we have 20 slits and then each ledge is an inch exactly. So to cut a 24-inch strip here, I'm going to use just any ruler. I'm going to place my 2-inch line on that ruler along the raw edge that I just trimmed off. And that's going to straighten out my XL ruler. I like this because the whole ruler is holding this in place. I'm still aligned with the fold here. And so all I need to do is just cut on the edge of my Stripology ruler. And I have my 24-inch piece here. So the next step is to cut that into a square. So then I take each fabric, open it up, single layer, and if you want, you can press that fold out if it's a hard crease. And what I want to do is just fold this in half, aligning the raw edges, the cut edges, just like this. That's going to act as our fold. And then I'm going to lay the second fabric on top the same way, just aligning all of the raw edges. So I'm going to open that up. Same way. And we're pretty much going to repeat what we just did by trimming the selvages off by cutting through the zero, and then using that ruler to extend to 24 inches. So I have my folds now, both of them are lined, so I just need one line on my bottom fold, and there should be a line here up the top, aligned with the raw edge. I cut through the zero to trim off my selvages. So then I'm going to pop in that other ruler. Now, if you feel unsafe to cut on the edge of a ruler and would prefer to go through a slit, you can do both of these processes by, instead of using the 2-inch line on a ruler, use the 3-inch line, and then you can cut through the 20-inch slit. And then you have your 24 inches square. So after cutting the square, we're going to remove it, but we're going to cut more strips here. We're going to just move this over what is the rest of the fabric. Make sure it's still folded up nicely. So we're going to cut rectangles that are 4 1/4. And 1/4 increments are very easy to cut with the Stripology ruler. So we start with a ruler here. I'm going to just align the raw edges. If you feel like they're uneven, then you can always just make a cut through the zero to make sure that we get a clean cut edge. And you can refer to either the instructions that came with your ruler, or if you have the Master Your Stripology Rulers book, we have the 1/4-inch chart here on page 5. So we're going to be cutting 4 1/4-inch strips. So 4 1/4, we start by cutting on the zero, and then on the 8 1/2. We only need 3, so that's the only first cut we need to make. So I'm going to cut on the zero, and then on the 8 1/2. And then I remove my little sliver that I trimmed off, slide my ruler to the right. So I'm using that first dotted line next to the 0 slit to align with the edge of my fabric. And now I'm ready to make the second cuts, hopping over into the second column. I'm going to cut on the 4 and then the 12.5. So on the 4 and the 12.5. And now I have 3 4¼ inch strips. This is going to be our leftover. 2 of these we're going to trim, or 2 sets. We're going to trim to an 18-inch length. So I can just go ahead and stack these up. I'm going to save myself a little time here. This is a little tip because we're going to eventually sew these 2 together. I'm going to layer them right sides together. So they're just ready to go straight to my sewing machine. And do the same with the second pair. And layer them right sides together. And this I'm going to trim to 18 inches. So bringing my ruler over, aligning a horizontal line on the bottom edge, making a cut through the 0, and then 18. So then I'm going to just carefully bring this over, ready for my sewing machine. And then the last set of strips, I'm going to do the exact same thing, layer them right sides together. I always like to use a line on my cutting mat to arrange them. And these are going to be 2 sets of 8-inch long rectangles. So again, I'm going to cut on the 0, on the 8, and then the 16. So there we have our cuts for the handles. So I'm going to set this one aside again with the long ones, taking that to my sewing machine. Now, one more cut we're going to make before we switch to sewing. We are going to take our squares, our 20-inch squares. They're already kind of folded corner to corner here. And what I want to do is bring all the corners, so this is the 2 fabrics, or the 2 layers here on this corner. I'm going to bring these corners over as well. So we're kind of folding it into 4ths, but the raw edge corner is going to be just 1 corner. We're going to trim that off. Now, if you have the Stripology rulers, obviously recommend using those. You can use your mini, your squared, or your XL. But what we want to do is place the edges here on any horizontal line, and the tip of the square needs to land here on the 2-inch slit. So it's nice to actually just go ahead and put a little arrow sticker on that 2-inch slit, so then it's easy to line up here. If you want to, you can move it up. So let me show you. Move it up to where we have a horizontal line going both ways here. So it's on the 2-inch line and the 2-inch slit. And then you have a diagonal line, dotted line going this way and this way that you can line up with the edges. And then we're going to make a cut on the 0 slit. So we're trimming off these corners. So you can do that, like I said, with any of the 3 rulers. If you don't have a Stripology ruler, and there's an easy way to do this. So we would line up the corners. You want to do this on both fabrics. So I'm going to show you the other version of doing this without a Stripology ruler. So what we want to do here is just take any ruler and grab a marking pen, and we're going to mark 2 3/4 from the corner. So I'm going to use my ruler here. So 2 3/4 inches. That's where I'm going to make a mark. And same way going this way. 2 3/4. Hard to see on this. And then I'm just going to lay my ruler from corner to corner. I missed where my mark was here. That was so blends in so much. There we go. Corner to corner here. And then we're going to cut these corners off just like this. So that is all the cutting. So now it's time to get to our sewing machine. So the first thing I want you to do is take those layered units that we did, the rectangles, and I want you to sew them together just along the one side, on both the long ones and the short ones. So what you'll end up with is something like this. What I do here is I press that seam open on both the long one and the short ones. So we have 2 of each. And now we're going to fold this into the center to make our strap. So what you want to do is fold your fabric towards the center. I don't go all the way to the seam. I leave it a little bit off. And then we do the same on the other side. And then just press these. Use an iron to press this way. Once you have pressed both sides this way, you actually take it and fold the whole thing over and then press this into a little handle like this, so it will have one fabric on one side and the other fabric on the other side. So once you press this nice and flat, like we have here, you're going to take this to your sewing machine and we're just going to top stitch about 1/8 of an inch along each side on both the long handles and also on our short handles. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, and I'll meet you back once I have that done. Here I have all my straps. So we have the short and the long. And it's time to grab our large squares. So I'm going to lay the one fabric down right side up here. And you're going to need some pins. So I'm going to grab my pins as well. And we're going to be folding our little straps. And what you want to make sure is that the folds that we do are going to be, we're going to fold them like this. So if you hold the ends, we're going to fold them like this so the raw edges are together. I'm going to show this on the, so if you take it like that, raw edges together, you can find the halfway point like this, and that's going to be your point where you fold them up, aligning those raw edges like this. And so as we pin it to this, we want that fabric to be facing the same fabric, so we're going to flip it like this, and it should fit, the raw edges of the handle should fit right along that diagonal edge that we just trimmed off. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this in place just in the center here for now. And you want to do this so we have a short strap on this side, and we want to put another short strap on the opposite corner. So I'm going to flip this over here, do the other one, find my center, make my fold like that. Make sure that my sides are even. Flip this over so that the right fabric is touching the same fabric. And we're going to do this also with our long straps on the other 2 corners. So again, finding that center. You can also just hold it like this and fold it over. You want to flip it over this way, like that, and like that, and pin. Once you have the 4 corners done, let me finish my last corner here. Wrap in my last strap. I'm going to do this way. There we go. last pin. So once we have this pinned down, we're going to grab the other piece of fabric that you can test yourself and make sure that you have this other fabric facing up everywhere on the corners. So that is looking good to me. So now I'm going to take that other piece of fabric and lay it on top, right sides together. So like so. And now we want to just align the corners. And what I'm going to do is just unpin and then pin through all the layers. So repeat that on all the corners. And then I'm going to add some pins along the sides as well, because we're going to sew this all the way around. So you can do pins or you can do clips along the side here. So what we want to do is finish the corners. So I'm going to start sewing. We're going to leave a little opening here on the side to turn. So we're going to sew back stitch when I start, and we're going to sew all the way around. And then when we come to the other side, I would say about a 4 inch opening, 4 to 5 inch opening, and then back stitch on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and do that, pin my whole piece, sew all the way around, and we'll come back and I'll show you how I turn it. So here I have my opening, ready to pull everything through. So I'm just going to start here on the first corner, pull that little loop out, go in and find our other loops. So here we go. You should have a long loop and a short loop and all the way through. So here's my opening. So this is the first side I usually try to press nicely. So what you want to do is pull out those seams a little bit, except for where the opening is, leave that folded in. And I'm going to press all the way around. Really pull those handles out and give it a press. Put a little steam on it if you want to. Get it nice and flat. And so we're going to do all the sides. Once you have all the sides and corners nicely pressed, the last step we're going to do is just top stitch around the whole edge. And so we go about 1/8 of an inch from the inside here along the sides, and then 1/8 of an inch on the inside on the corners as well, and keep going all the way around. So that will automatically close that opening. So I'm going to finish pressing mine, and then I'm going to top stitch all the way around, and then it's ready to be used. So here I have my finished carrier, top stitched all the way around, and now all that's left is showing you how to use this thing. So the benefits of using the Potluck carrier is that whenever you need to bring a big salad or maybe a cake to a potluck and you need to carry it from the car, you have to have 2 hands. This case, you set this in the middle, we bring the short end up, and we're going to pull the long loop through the bottom and on the second one as well. And then we bring the other long one, we bring that through the bottom as well. Bring up the long handles like this. So now, not only is this a really nice and cute little carrier, we can carry it one-handed, we can slip it up on our forearm and use our hands for something else. But as you arrive to the party, you unwrap this, and this serves as a really nice table topper to catch all of the crumbs or whatever else, and you're ready to serve your dish. I hope you enjoyed making the Potluck carrier with me. I sure am going to make this in all kinds of fun fabrics so I can take it to the appropriate themed potluck. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.